Hello and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. I'm Xarkun, and today I've got another look at the Nelson for you. Here on the screen you see my commander build for the Azur Lane Nelson commander. I've got her at level 12, got a level 16 Cunningham as one inspiration, and then a level 8 Fournay as the other inspiration. Fournay, of course, increases the battleship's main gun HE shell damage by 1.8%, and that HE shell damage is basically what the Nelson Azur Lane commander is for. You see here in the first tier we've got, of course, Flammable Cannoneer to extend the range. The risk of catching fire on this one is not so bad in the Nelson because of its zombie-like heal. You are mostly immune to HE spam or to the long-term effects of HE spam in the Nelson. So Flammable Cannoneer, not a bad way to go with this commander in my opinion. Alright, second tier here. This is the key. Big 7. Increase main battery damage of your battleship at the cost of reduced armor penetration rating. So this skill here increases the battleship's main gun AP and HE shell damage by 12% each, but it decreases the penetration of the battleship shells by 15%, which that 15% seems like a huge trade-off, and maybe it is, but when the shells do pen, they hit incredibly hard. So, trade-offs, right? Alright, third tier here, Firefighter skill. Damage control, party reload time reduced. Risk of catching fire reduced, which helps with this penalty here a little bit. And, of course, Master Mechanic to give us the extra zombie heal. And I did make Nelson here legendary, and I accidentally did hit one of these legendary traits. I would have preferably not chosen either of them because both of them are pretty bad, but this one is a little bit easier to live with, so I just went with that one. And before we get into the game here, let me show you exactly what this Big 7 means in terms of HE and AP shell damage on the Nelson. So get out of here, return to the Nelson. Let's take a look at the stats. So the artillery, we've got 17.3 kilometer range with the Flammable Cannoneer, which is fantastic. And now the HE shell damage, 7,852, which I believe is the highest HE alpha strike for a battleship in this game. So these are basically the best HE shell characteristics of any battleship in the game. Add on to the 7,852 damage with the 46% chance to start a fire, and you have a recipe for mayhem. AP shell damage, 13,440, which is pretty good. It's up there with, the other battleships that have 16-inch guns at this tier. Alright, well, now that that's out of the way, let's jump into the battle and see what the Nelson can do with this commander setup. Okay, so we are going to be on Two Brothers, Dos Hermanos, in the Nelson, and we are running a level 12 Azur Lane Nelson commander. You'll notice probably right off the bat that when the battle starts, if you can hear it, the voice is in English and not Japanese. Funny thing about these Azur Lane commanders is that their voices are all female Japanese voices, and I don't speak Japanese, so I have no idea what they're saying. But I'll tell you what, when you have that switched on and you hear those Japanese voices, it's like every time they open their mouth, they launch into a long lecture in Japanese about what's going on in the battle. I don't know what it is, I swear though, they just speak in paragraphs every time they talk, and I have no idea what they're saying, so I did end up turning that off. You can do that in the settings. If you go to, I can't remember which part of the settings it is, but there's a part in the settings where you can switch off the weird, camos for Azur Lane. And if you do that, it also switches off the Japanese voiceover and returns it to English or whatever language your game is set up in, which, I prefer it that way. I kind of like to know what people are saying on the chat wheel, and I don't necessarily enjoy being lectured in Japanese. I don't understand the language. If that's your thing, go ahead, use that Japanese voiceover. Ooh, look at that shot and that dispersion on this Pensacola out here. Oh my gosh, 14k, and of course that's not enough to finish him off. That honor goes to one of the teammates here, but there's some AP shell damage against a cruiser for you, so obviously that's nothing that any other battleship couldn't do. The real centerpiece on the Nelson here is, of course, the HE, and we're going to switch to that now after we take a pot shot at that New Orleans. He's way out there. He's probably going to turn and avoid that entire salvo, but that's okay. Now, we do have a destroyer right there in front of us. We don't necessarily want to go charging out. And we got a Scharnhorst over there. Now, the Scharnhorst is the one that I want to shoot at. These German battleships, of course, their superstructure is made out of rags soaked in gasoline, so they burn quite nicely. First salvo with only 2 guns out. Dispersion is a little bit wonky, but it does hit the Scharnhorst for, what was that, 7,000 damage, and it starts a fire. So that is something that's pretty consistent with these HE shells under this Azur Lane Nelson build. I am going to shoot at this Scharnhorst and another Scharnhorst a number of times throughout the course of this game with full HE salvos, and I am going to do 7,000, just basic shell damage pretty consistently as long as all of the shells hit. That one there, we only had 1 penetration, so it was only about 1,000 damage. But that coupled with the fire chance is pretty powerful on this ship. There is not another ship in the game that can do what this ship can do. And am I talking this ship up a little bit? Yes, I am. Because, honestly, this has become one of my favorite battleships in the entire game. It is just so fun to play. And the HE shell damage on this ship with this build, you can absolutely, if you want to, get away with firing only HE. And the shells are so huge and gigantic, that you can sometimes hit citadels with HE shells on lightly armored cruisers, say Atlantas or La Galissoniere. Take out that Scharnhorst there with a fire for our first kill, up to 56,000 damage. And we have turned around here. We've noticed that this Scharnhorst is interested in entering our base, and we are coming up to reinforce our teammate there. Got a shot out on the Scharnhorst that looks pretty decent. Hits him there for, again, about 7k, starts a fire. Like I said, pretty consistent, and that's about 3 shells out of 9, I think, hitting 4 damage. So you get more than 3 shells that hit. You can get salvos that are like, that do like armor piercing damage to broadside battleships. I'm talking like 10, 13, 14k. It is not impossible, and it is not rare with this build. In fact, while I'm telling you this, why don't you, after this video of course, why don't you head over to Bulvai's channel? Alright? Head over to Bulvai's channel. I sent him a game a while ago, a week ago or so, in the Nelson with this commander build. and it is a fantastic game where I essentially waste half of the enemy team's time by way of kiting in the Nelson. And by kiting, I mean I reverse for the entire game. The team chases me and I kill 4 of them. And there are some big, nasty HE salvo hits in that game. It's a great video. Go to Bullseye's channel, check it out. Maybe I'll put a link to that video in the description, because it's a fun, entertaining watch. Bullseye, you know, very entertaining commentary. He's got a way with words, that guy. Anyway, we are heading up toward the channel here. We got what looks to be a little underage boat brigade trying to, you know, come into the base. And there's that Jervis out there. He has played his metalfish cards. They have sailed into nothing, done no damage to anybody, and we hit him, temporarily disabled a torpedo tube, shaved off a fair amount of HP. Now, of course, we aren't going to go sailing, you know, bow first right into this channel when there is a destroyer there. There are actually 2 destroyers in this channel. We do not want to be taking any torpedoes, really, in the Nelson. That is one thing you don't want to do. The Nelson doesn't have great torpedo damage reduction, so the torpedo damage is not pleasant. Although the flooding damage can be healed 100% by the Nelson zombie heal, so, you know, you take a torpedo, fine, you can let it flood for a while if you want, and you can heal up all that damage and really, you know, make the enemy destroyers cry salty tears of frustration and rage. Now, here is the Jervis turning broadside. Most of our shells do hit that island there, and they smack him right in the module for an incapacitation. That is because, of course, the modules on ships, you know, the turrets, torpedo tubes, etc., they all have their own HP pools, which are not tied to the ship's overall HP pools. So that's why, you know, you hit a module like that, you get an incapacitation. You don't actually do any damage numbers. I mean, you're doing damage to the module, which has its own HP count, but not to the ship overall. And that's the same thing if you ever hit those armor-piercing salvos and you get a single penetration or something like that against an enemy ship, but you don't get any damage for it, and that's because you've hit a module. Now, Jervis there, broadside, we take him out, no problem. I suppose maybe that was not the most considerate move for our teammate there. He had torpedoes on target that would have hit and killed the Jervis, but, you know, we stole the kill from him rather shamelessly, because, you know, we're dirty kill stealers sometimes, but, you know, that's okay. The Jervis is dead. Does it really matter who killed him? Nah. Is it unfortunate for the friendly Scharnhorst that he, as a battleship, would have succeeded in torping a destroyer had we not intervened? Well, you know, perhaps that's not great for him, but, you know, I don't feel bad about it. Anyway, Scharnhorst over here, all 3 guns on target. Now, he is obviously going to come into this channel. There we go, another 7k hit on the Scharnhorst. Like I said, pretty consistent with 3 to 4 shells there penetrating. You get more shells than that, you're going to do a lot more damage. And, you know, he's the Scharnhorst here. He's entering the channel. Obviously wants to torp me. I am aware of that. But I should be able to take some torpedoes without too much trouble here. Even if he hits me with a full salvo, it's probably not going to kill me. I've lost barely any health. Continuing to lay down some fire on him, starting some fires. He's put it out, and he is entering the channel. He's only 2 kilometers away. He is going to turn and launch his torpedoes, but that's not the important part here. Important part is we're going to get our guns on target, hit him for 2k there, and now we're going to hit him with all 6 shells from these 2 remaining turrets. Watch this. So that right there, 5k and 5k, 6 penetrations. That is 10,000 damage from an HE salvo. We do take that torpedo hit, reduces us to a little bit less than half health, pop the zombie heal just for the hell of it, and heal up past half health. Not bad. 124,000 damage, 3 kills, number of fires started, only 1 enemy destroyer left. He is not going to last for too much longer, and the game is about to end comfortably with our victory. So there's a look for you there at the Nelson with the Azur Lane Nelson commander. I think she is probably the best commander out of the Azur Lane bundle, except for maybe the Azur Lane Atago commander, who seems pretty strong. I also have that one, and I will probably test that out too. Again, go to Bullvi's channel and watch his replay of mine if you're interested. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and of course, consider subscribing to my channel. Got a lot of World of Warships Legends content coming all the time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I will see you next time. Goodbye.